So today you are all at the webinar, Making Your Website User-Friendly to Maximize Profit. And this webinar is being brought to you by Cont and myself, Michelle Sherritt. Today's session will be recorded. So we're recording the session right now, and it will be live and up on our YouTube page as well as our website and all of our social media by the end of the day. Again, if you have any questions whatsoever during today's webinar, as you think of the question, please type it in your upper right-hand corner in your chat box. And then if we need to go back in slides, we can go ahead and do that in order if you go ahead and put those questions in as they come up. After today's webinar, please email me any comments and suggestions for future webinars, whether that be topics, comments, or suggestions at michelle@qcamp.com. Today's hashtag is QCampUserWeb, and you can follow us on Twitter and follow our discussion. The layout of today's session, we're going to try something a little bit different. So we have a bunch of topics that we're going to go over. The first is finding balance between overwhelming and underwhelming design. What's the difference? How to keep your website from being overwhelming to users. Next, we'll talk about the relative importance of search and navigation and how to improve both so people can find information on your site. Next, we'll talk about how to describe products and services so that your customers understand them better. We'll also talk about costs of a bad design. We'll talk about usability guidelines and when to bend the rules. We'll also discuss how to create a pleasant user experience and internet presence that makes people want to do business with you. And lastly, we'll talk about where to spend your money to achieve maximum improvement in user experience metrics. So we have a very simple goal for today's session. We want you throughout the webinar to always think about your end user. Once you leave this webinar and you look at your own company website, think about the end user. This is very important because otherwise, why have a website? End users are the ones that come to your website. They're the ones who are buying your products, purchasing your services, or inquiring about things that you offer. So always think about the end user. So if we're thinking about the end user, we have to think about how do they think? What are they thinking when they come to our websites? What are their expectations? So this kind of gets into cognitive psychology. Cognitive psychology examines the mental processes such as how people think, how they perceive, how they remember, and how they learn. Cognitive psychology emerged in the late 1950s, and it was a reaction to behaviorism. Behaviorism basically is the behaviors acquired through conditioning. So when you go to a website and you have your user and they first enter your site and they're looking at it, they're thinking, they're perceiving, they're remembering information, and they're learning. Also, human factors plays a big role when we're thinking about our users. Human factors examines the properties of human capabilities and limitations. It really focuses on physical, cognitive, and social properties, such as ergonomics. So we all know that ergonomics, things fit between people and their work. This emerged during World War II, and prior to World War II, pilots made fatal errors due to complex equipment. The equipment wasn't simple. The equipment wasn't designed for the human or the pilot who would be using it. So people then were matched with their jobs and machines. Human-computer interaction, or HCI, also is thought of when we talk about our users. HCI emerged in the 1980s with the introduction of personal computing. So it's the study of the interaction of humans with computers. It's an intersection of disciplines: computer science, cognitive science, sociology, and human factors. So when we think of our users, we think about attention. How well do we pay attention? How well do our users pay attention? So everyone, please pay attention. Attention is the cognitive process of focusing on aspects of the environment while ignoring the rest. It requires a lot of mental effort to pay attention. So we sense little from our environment sometimes, and so that gives us blindness. So we want to make sure that when our users come to our websites, they're focused. We have their attention, we're grabbing their attention, not obnoxiously, but in a way where they will want to stay on the website and they will want to come back, because that will give you reoccurring visitors and may even give you residual income as well. So when we go to a website, we want to make sure that users are focusing on certain items on our website. We want to draw their attention to certain things, such as promotions or things that we're selling or our services or about our company, whatever the reason or the focus is that we want them to come to our site. So this is an example of a heat map. And what a heat map is basically showing you exactly where the user's looking. So everything that's in dark red, they're really focusing on. Anything in yellow, green, blue, and purple, it goes out from there. So obviously the ads and things, when they're doing a Google search here, they're looking specifically at the top 4 or 5 choices that pop up. So you can see the red there. But everything that's purple and green, they're kind of glancing at. There's also something called banner blindness. So we just talked about blindness, where you're not focused and you're just honed into one area and you're forgetting the rest around you. So banner blindness basically is when you go to a website and you see everything in yellow here. Those are ads or things that pop up. So things that people don't even look at when they arrive at these websites. So if you have a website where usually you'll have ads if you design the website on a free platform or a very cheap platform, then you're going to have ads around your pages of your website. And so users don't look at those ads. As you can see here on these 2 sitemaps, they're looking for the information that they came to the website for. So there are certain factors that affect attention. So the complexity of the task. If users have to multitask, that's not good, because if this is just an example, but if they come to a website and you have a lot of things popping up at them, or you have videos playing right away, or avatars that just pop up and start talking to you, they're having to multitask. And they're having to remember, okay, I came to this site for this reason, now I'm being distracted. So basically it's distractions. There's a physiological factor as well. So reading print versus the computer screen also plays a huge factor that affects attention. And also selective disregard, so ignoring windows, ignoring ads, things of that nature. We also look for patterns in strategies for limiting cognitive effort. So humans don't like to work. We all know that. Therefore, we find shortcuts. We apply the same rules to similar situations. We are creatures of habit, and we do not try anything new, only familiar to us. So the same thing as when we're surfing the internet. And think about yourself when we're going through this webinar today. Think about the behaviors that you do, because that's typical of most users. They'll find that if the menu navigation isn't at the header or the top of the homepage, people will leave, because then they have to search for the menu. Or if they're looking for a contact us page once they get to your website and they can't find it quickly, usually users want to see that contact us in the upper right hand corner or at the very last labeling of your main menu navigation. If it's not there and they have to search around for it, they're going to leave. So that leads us into menu navigation. Menu navigation is very important and key to any website. When you are designing websites, there are certain key things that you need to look at and think about when designing your menu navigation. Here at QCamp, when we do our menu navigation, we look at the content that's going to be put onto each page of the website. And we organize it in a way that makes sense to users. So we organize it in different categories, and then those categories are going to be our labeling for our main menu navigation buttons. Labeling we want to keep very short and to the point. If the category is about news and it also consists of our blog, we're either going to label the menu option news or blog. If it's about us, we're going to put about, that kind of thing. So with menu navigation, we want to make sure that we're not giving our users too many options. So we want to give them between 4 to 6 menu options, and that's it. Any more and people get confused and information will get buried. So let me show you what that looks like. This is a sitemap, and basically what a sitemap is, it's a visualization of your menu navigation. So as you can see the blue box that says homepage or overview, everyone has a homepage on their website, and then from there we have our main menu navigation. So we have our firm, lawyers, specialties, news, contact us. And in the upper right hand corner we have email this page, terms of service, etc. Underneath lawyers we have bios, and then underneath specialties we list each specialty. Under news we have our newsletter, and we also have our news archives. So this is just a visualization to show clients exactly what their main menu navigation will look like and what the submenus will look like, so that they can see, okay, across, do we have 4 to 6 main menu options? Is the labeling clear and concise? And for submenus, do we have too many? Because if we have too many, information is going to get buried within the website. It's going to be harder to find certain pieces of information. If it's too wide, meaning we're giving them more than 4 to 6 main menu options, then we're giving them too many options, and information will get buried as well. So when designing a website with a website firm, you want to make sure that they actually show you something like this, and it's called a sitemap. If they don't, it shows their inexperience. They should want to visually show you exactly what your main menu navigation is going to look like and your submenus as well. This is a great example of a website where you're ordering products, and on the left you have your menu navigation, and up at the top you also have menu navigation. And so items can get lost. It's very confusing to search this website because there are so many options being given to the user. So today compared to 10 years ago, users' behavior hasn't really changed much. There's still strong reliance on the back button. When we're doing user testing, we have at our parent company at Situated Research, we have people who strongly use the back button. They're always clicking the back button when they click on a page and they don't find the information that they thought that they would find. They're clicking on the back button. There's also confusion with multiple browser windows opening. I'm sure you've all been to websites where you've clicked on an internal page or a main menu button, and you've been navigated to a new browser window, and that prompts something else to open, and you're somewhere else, and you may even end up on a totally different website. This happens a lot with e-commerce websites where they're using a third-party shopping cart. It will open up in a new browser window. Also, close pop-ups before looking at them. So those pop-up windows when you go to websites that pop up with advertisements or newsletter signups, or avatars that just pop up and start talking to you, users automatically just close it. Also, users ignore ads. We talked a little earlier about those free web design tools, and they're free because people are able to advertise on your website. So you have those ads all around the windows of your site, and users ignore them, as you saw in the heat map. Users also look for elements that appear clickable. So they're always wanting to click to get somewhere else to get the information that they need. And they spend little time on each website. So let's talk now about visual perception. So once you have this main menu navigation down, you've got your submenus, you don't have any ads, you're getting rid of anything popping up at users to distract them. Now we're going to look at visual perception of the site, or visual acuity. So we want to accommodate the eye. So sensitivity, meaning there's a lot of websites that we review and look at to do expert reviews on, where they have black backgrounds with white text. And there's a sensitivity level for some people with their eyes to that. And so we have to look, okay, who is your key audience? What is the age group? You have to look at those characteristics of your target audience. You have to look at the size. You have to look at the contrast, if there's any motion. So there's some cerebral processes, so attaching meaning to certain things on the website as well that you need to think about when thinking about the visualization of your site and each page and what it's going to look like. There's a 10-point rule, which is 10 to 12-point font size for websites for general audiences. Anything for senior citizens and people with visual impairments is 12 to 14. With young children and beginner readers is 12 to 14, and teenagers and young adults is 10 to 12-point font. This is important because if you have the wrong font for the wrong age group or the wrong audience, it's going to be very difficult for that user to search around your website or to even use the site, which means they're going to leave. So these general guidelines work very well, but of course you need to figure out who your target audience is for your company and your website. So as an example, some people say, well, why is this important? I get what you just said, but I really don't get it. Can you show me a real life example? So here, mayoclinic.com. The Mayo Clinic, you could have any age group come to this website. So to accommodate for that, because elderly people are also coming to the site, they have something that we circled here called text size. And you can actually decrease or increase the font size of the website depending on how you can see it. So depending on if you're younger, if you're older, etc. It's a really nice feature for this type of site because they know that their target audience can be anywhere from teenagers to elderly people who won't necessarily be able to read smaller font or want to look at bigger font. So they can choose their font size here. Uppercase lettering. A lot of websites that we review use uppercase lettering for everything on their site. And it actually has proven to show that it slows the reading level of the user. Uppercase also removes word patterns, so it makes it more difficult for users to search and find information. Typically what we find is users come to websites and they skim the content of the website. So they don't read word for word, they skim around or they speed read. And so if you're using uppercase letters throughout the site, it really removes those word patterns and slows down the reading of the user. So write headings and titles in sentence case or title case only. And be consistent. Consistency is key to web design. Whether that be to make sure that the coloring selection of each page of the site looks the same, or the layout is the same, or the location of where you put certain items is the same from page to page. Consistency is important. You want to use the same within. So site navigation is key. Remembering not to just have on the home page your main menu navigation at the top of the page, and then find out that you go to an internal page and the menu navigation is now on the left-hand side. You don't ever want to have that happen. And that happens all the time because people think, okay, well, this is an internal page now. Let's go ahead and move it to the left and we'll make the focus of the page the content. We get that, but now the user has to reorient themselves and figure out, okay, well, the main menu navigation just moved. I'm looking at the content. I'm not finding what I need to look for. I need to go back to the menu navigation. And now it's nowhere to be found, or it's at the footer of the page, or it's to the left, or to the right, or it's gone. The worst thing, though, is when companies let us look at their websites and they do change the location of the main menu navigation on an internal page, but then they also change the labeling. So that's always frustrating to users as well. So you just want to implement web standards. You want to put in a search box at the top of the page so that if your website does have a lot of information, it can be searchable. I'm sure that you've gone to websites where you got overwhelmed and you just went to the search box and typed in what you wanted. Also, OK and cancel button positions, make sure they're consistent with OS as well. So now let's talk about the language on your website. Word order matters for comprehension. So we have these two exercises here, and we actually tested this with users. And so we had users say both sentences, and we recorded how long it took for them to read each sentence. So drops of molten silver filled the night sky. Okay, that took 4.2 seconds to read. The next sentence, the night sky was filled with drops of molten silver, reads a lot better. The word order is better. It's better comprehension. And it only took 3.5 seconds to read. So content is key on your website, not just for selling your products or services or for telling people about your company and what you do, but also to make sure that they are understanding what they're reading and it makes sense to them. And remember, users, when they go to websites, they skim. So word order is very important because you want those keywords there to pop out to them. So we've talked about the skimmers versus the readers. On the internet, you only find skimmers. You never find anyone who's reading word for word unless they download a book and they're reading it word for word. And even then, you're speed reading or skimming. Skimmers actually spend less time on each word and comprehend less. So on the internet, they're basically just looking for keywords to pop out at them. They're coming to the website for certain information, and they're going to skim through till they find that information. So here's a heat map of a website where someone's bringing up some information on baby diapers, and you can see from the heat map what their focus is on. So the red area is on the baby's face. So right away you're drawn to the baby because it's huge, it's a good graphic, and it's not words, it's a picture. So users typically will gravitate to that first. Then they kind of skim down the baby's body, kind of check it out. And then they go and they read the content. And again, they're skimming around, as you can see by the different colors. So now let's touch upon problem solving and decision making. Distracting users is not a good idea. So I said before, you've all experienced when you've gone to a website and you've had ads around the banner of the site, or you've had videos pop up at you, or avatars that just start talking to you. What do? Well, you quickly try to close it. I know in our office, when we bring up a website and a video starts playing, we quickly try to shut it off because it's distracting to others around us. We didn't expect it, we didn't want it, and it was distracting. You want to reduce the interaction costs, so minimize interferences, streamline the interaction, minimize the amount of reading on the site in each page, minimize any attention switches that switch the user's attention from why they came to the site to something else, and make information readily available to your users. So really, what are customers looking for? They're looking for clean and concise advertising, so they don't want anything that's cluttered with words or photos because it's not needed. And stock imagery is huge. They don't want to see that. When you go to a website, you can tell if something's stock imagery or if it's actually your images. And this is so important. We're going to talk about trust in a few slides later on. If you're using stock imagery and you're just going on the internet and purchasing images, users who go to the site are kind of like, okay, well, why aren't these people using their own images? What's the issue? I'm not going to trust this site. I'm not going to trust this company because they just went on the internet and purchased images. Why couldn't they have shown us their own images? And you don't think about things like this as a business owner. You just want your website to look good. But this is what users are thinking. This is their thought process. Information that users would want to know on your website needs to be available right away. And forms are huge on websites. We don't want to be asked a lot of information. Name, email, and maybe a phone number. Maybe you've already gone too far. You have to look at your audience. Who's your clientele? If it's elderly people, they might give you a little bit more information. I mean, we know that on forms you want to lead capture. We know that you want as much information as you can get to turn that person who came to your site and actually filled out the form into a customer. But there's a tactful way to do it, and there's a subtle way to do it, and a way to do it in which isn't going to bother the user or make the user irritated, angry, not want to fill out the form at all, because that's the last thing that you want to have happen. So let's talk a little bit about social psychology, the social web. There is social proof that you can generate trust and likability on your website. Think about your Facebook feeds. People are suggesting different things all the time. People, your friends, are liking certain pages. And when they like those pages, you're kind of checking it out too. You feel more inclined to trust that company, to trust that product, because so-and-so that you went to high school with really likes this page and they use the products all the time. Another great thing for social proof is testimonials. So if you have testimonials on your website from actual people with their names and their quotes and what they're saying, you can gain trust that way as well. Company reviews are huge. On Facebook now, on your company page, you're allowed to have your clients write reviews. And that really helps out tremendously, especially in our line of business, because we're designing websites. So people want to see examples of our work, see what we can do, but they also want to look at testimonials and reviews and be like, oh, well, this guy didn't have a very good experience. I wonder why. Maybe I'll contact him. Or these testimonials are great. I really want to work with this company. Also, if you have any endorsements from experts, many authors and speakers have this on their websites, and it just gives them more credibility. And also the popularity of the website, the number of comments that they have on their blog posts, the number of downloads, number of members, that there's memberships on the website. All of this can contribute to social proof that you can generate trust on your website. So with social media, we have social modeling. So we do what we see others do. So as I said in the example of an old classmate that's liking a page, that likes a product, I'm going to be more inclined to check out that product because I know that person. And I know that they liked it, and I know that they've used it, and I know that they've talked about it, so I'm going to trust it. New members will contribute more content if they see their friends doing it, or if they receive feedback, or if they have a wide audience. So, in summary, emotions and design equal emotion-driven behavior. So, attractive things just work better. Um, we're talking about what websites look like and graphic design. When we're talking about websites, we want to make sure that the couple of key things. First of all, we want to make sure that your website has a logo and that the logo makes sense for the company. Meaning, if you're a lawn mowing company, you're not going to have a logo with a globe and weird wording that doesn't have anything to do with that company, what you're doing. You're going to probably have a little lawnmower with a guy cutting the grass or something like that, and a really clever, catchy name. And you're going to have the website probably consist of colors like blue for the sky, green for grass, white, things of that nature. So you want to make sure that your website's attractive, but you also want to make sure that it works. Many companies that come to us to have their websites looked at go overboard with graphic design. Colors have nothing to do with their logo. They don't play off the logo. Or we don't have consistency within the pages of the website. So those things happen all the time. You don't want to go overboard. And going back to a lot of websites are now consisting in having videos all over the pages of the site. Just to kind of pop up information that the business owner wants to give to the users, such as any promotions. They want to highlight a certain product that they're selling, and so that can be very distracting to users as well, but they think it's attractive. So a good example of a really well put together website, Apple does a great job with color selection, with their logo, coordinating those two, keeping it consistent within the internal pages of the site, as well as the colors that they've chosen. All of their products pop on the page because the backgrounds are gray or dark gray, which go with their logo. And then that helps to have everything else just pop on the page. So their products, such as the iPhone here, you're able to look at it and visually and conceptually be like, wow, this looks very good. It pops on the page. It's showcasing the product that they're selling very well. It's very appealing to the eye. And so you're going to be more inclined to keep searching through this website and to see what else they have to offer because it's attractive. Mercedes-Benz as well. This is a really well done website. Not only is their menu navigation great, their labeling is fantastic. You can figure out exactly where to go for certain information, but visually, everything pops off of the page. And Mercedes-Benz is all about the car, and that just pops on the page, and you see that, and that's the focus, and that's what your eyes should be drawn to. Tide is another website that does a great job. Here you can see that their color selection is based off of their logo design, which really goes well. The little girl's popping off the page with her nice bright outfit. The products are popping off the page, so the color selection here is done very well. It goes with the logo design, and it just makes everything pop, and it makes it more attractive and appealing to users. Now this site is a more informational site where you're actually going to find out, looking to find registered nurses in California. So this is a government website, and usually government websites have a lot of information, a lot of content that isn't organized very well. This is an example of that. And so you can see visually this site is not very attractive. However, users will come to the site if they're looking for specific information because it's the only location for this type of information. So that's when they have a monopoly and you can't go anywhere else. So, they're not all about being attractive and having a nice, slick looking website. They're just trying to present the information quickly to users. So now let's talk about SEO, or search engine optimization, and why that is so important for your website. When you're searching on Google or any search engine, all search engines have algorithms that they go after, and depending on how you do your SEO for your website will depend on your ranking on these search engines, especially Google. So algorithms, they change all the time. They're basically just mathematical equations that run in the background based off of going to your site and scoping around and looking at the content and seeing what you're offering and what keywords you're using, and how you're describing each page of your website to the internet. And it's all coming up in an algorithm, which is going to give you a ranking so that when people search for certain keywords, you're going to come up on that search on page 1 at the top, or you're not. So this algorithm, it can change monthly, sometimes weekly, sometimes daily now. No one really knows what it is. And it can take anywhere from 6 months to a year to get your website up on the page 1 of the rankings if you do it right. Basically what it boils down to is how popular is your website. So the more people that you can get to your website, the better. The right people, the better, meaning the correct audience. So if you, all of us have received emails from people who want to backlink to our sites or link up to our sites that have nothing to do with our industry. So just as an example with QCamp, we build websites, we redesign websites, we help people fix their websites, and we also are into social media. So we had a company who came to us that builds a certain piece of software, and so they wanted to come to us and link back to our site because they saw that our website is very popular. So that will in turn, they think, increase traffic to their site. We didn't link with them and they became very angry. However, we didn't link to them because they have nothing to do with our industry. And Google and other search engines look at the companies and the websites that you have linking back to your site. And if it's not relevant to your industry and you're just linking a bunch of companies and businesses to your website just to do it, to gain popularity, they can see through it with their algorithms. So you only want to connect with people within your industry. So bottom line again is how popular is your site with people who are your target audience. So you have to get people to your website. And the best way to do this is through blog integration and social networks. So you can check out our whole free social networking series, our webinar series, to learn more on the specifics of how to use these sources, especially blog integration, that will help you to increase that popularity and increase the flow of people to your website. So with search engine optimization, there are a lot of companies out there who just focus on search engine optimization. And they charge a lot of money for it. And companies do a lot of things. And there's so many tricks to SEO. But the key things are you want to make sure that you have keywords within each page, so within the code of each page of your site, so that if someone types in a keyword, your site's going to come up. Now, granted, there are exceptions to this. So with QCamp, we're located in Naperville, Illinois. So Naperville, Illinois, Naperville might be one of our keywords. However, if you type in Naperville, are we necessarily going to come up on the first page of the search or the first couple of options on the search? No. because what's probably going to happen? A town of Naperville is going to come up. The page of Naperville is going to come up. The main site of Naperville is going to come up, not our web design company, unless you type in certain keywords. So if you type in web design agency Naperville, then we might come up on the first or second or third page. So you have to choose your keywords very selectively. You have to also look at your competition and see what keywords they're using and see how they're ranking on search engines as well. Bottom line is that when you work with a web design company, you want to make sure that those SEO services are included within the website design and that you're not being charged extra to do that, because that should just be done automatically. Really, all you have to do is look at the content that is on each page of the site. So look at the home page, look at the content, see what keywords pop out to you, look at your competition, compare those keywords, do some keyword selection and research, and those are the keywords that you go with. We've been building websites for, gosh, I'd say about 15 years now. And with our experience, we have found many clients who come to us after they've tried to make a website on their own, using tools through their Mac or just using online free tools because they didn't have the funds to build their own website. And we've just found that making your own website just leads to frustration. We have many clients that come to us who spend hours upon hours using free tools and trying to learn programming and trying to learn SEO and doing all of this on their own in their spare time. And I say spare time because they don't have spare time. They're business owners. So basically their evenings and weekends away from their family. And they're spending all these hours and they're trying to learn these platforms, and they're not as easy as they're advertised on TV. And they're not giving them what they want. They're not getting an attractive website. They're not getting a website that works for their users. And all of this, including not having any usability at all, any expertise at all, leads to them wasting all this time slapping and putting something up on the internet that doesn't look right, and users lose trust within the company, they lose trust within the product, and even sometimes with these free tools, if it's an e-commerce site especially, it may not work at all, or it may work in certain search engines and not in others. And so that's a problem. Because you lose credibility and you lose customers. So you have to have usability within your website. So making websites on your own, we've just found that it does not work. It's a huge time investment and a huge learning curve most of the time. That usability expertise is simply missing. Graphic design is missing. Yeah, you can make things look pretty and choose stock imagery, etc., etc. But actually having a graphic designer come in and actually design your pages of your site based off of your company logo and things of that nature is way better than just picking out a template, popping in your logo, and going from there. The colors might be off. They may not have templates that go with your logo or make sense. So that usability you're losing. Programming as well, we're going to talk about that in a moment, elementary programming that's involved with these free tools. It turns out to be a very expensive lesson because you've wasted all this time. You've essentially wasted it. So we've had some clients, just as an example, who have spent months upon months trying to build a website, and they get frustrated and they stop the project. Then they pick up with it later on, a few months down the road, or they just give up completely, or they complete the project, they get something up on the internet, and they're not happy with it. We had a client who's a florist who built their own website, and their shopping cart did not work. They thought that it worked, because they were on a Mac and they were using Safari, and that's how they built the website, and it worked for them. But people who were using other search engines or different browsers, it wasn't working properly. The shopping cart did not work at all in most cases. So if you're using Firefox or Chrome, it just wasn't working. So those people who had a PC, who were at home or in their office trying to order different floral designs, weren't able to order, and therefore they didn't. And that business owner lost business, and he found out that he was losing business because he had a few people who actually came into his physical shop and said, I tried to go on your website and I couldn't order anything, so I thought I'd stop by and order my product this way. And he was like, oh my God, I wonder how many people are coming that are totally missing out and not able to order anything. How much business am I losing? Well, we clicked in Google Analytics to his website that he built, and we figured it out very quickly how many people were actually coming to the site, how many people were trying to order, and then left. And it was astonishing. It was really bad. So that elementary programming feature we were talking about. First of all, it gives you poor SEO, search engine optimization that we just talked about. Keywords, page descriptions, image tags are missing. So your website's not even going to get found because you're not an SEO expert. You don't know how to go in the back end of the code and put keywords and page descriptions, so you're screwed. So using these free tools does not save you anything in the long run, except getting a business card up on the internet. The shopping cart example of our poor client who's a florist, he lost money hand over fist, and that was for a whole year. Finally, he had, during a holiday, I think it was Easter, he had those people come in and say, you're in my neighborhood, I wanted to order off your website, but it wasn't working. And then it started to click. With the elementary programming as well, when you're using these free tools, there's glitches all the time. Like I said, your website may look great and function perfectly in one web browser, and in another won't work or look the same. Menus or overlapping photos we've seen, text overlaps images or overlaps each other. The website's not consistent or it doesn't work at all. So think about when you go to a website and it looks like that, you lose trust in that company very quickly. You leave the site, you go to a different vendor. And with elementary programming with these free tools, you're also missing information architecture. So you don't have someone who's looking at your menu navigation or your submenus to make sure that information isn't getting buried and that you're not overwhelming your users. You can put in whatever you want. There's no guide. There's no one looking at it. There's no one looking at the content of your website. It's all based off of you, the business owner, who isn't an information architect, who isn't a usability expert. So if you are a business owner and you've had a website built for your company, there are 2 free tools that you can use online that will help give you some insight into your website. There's one called validator.w3.org. This site actually checks the code of your website for programming errors. Basically, you want 0 programming errors. You want the green word pass to come up. Because if you have programming errors, that means your website may not look or function properly in different search engines. And you don't want that. Because you're going to lose clients, you're going to lose customers, you're going to lose business, which means you're going to lose money. So you can actually use this free tool, and it will tell you exactly what the programming errors are, if there are any, and how to fix them. And the other free tool is marketing.grader.com, and this is through HubSpot. It will actually grade your website out of 100. It'll rank your traffic to your site, the keywords, any links you have linking back to your site. It will look at meta tags, it will look at image tags, it will look at everything. It will look at your social media outlets that you have connected to your website to see what you're doing on social media, if anything. It'll look at your blog. It will give you all this information that you need in order to improve your website. So I love this graphic that I found a few years ago, and it's a woman sitting in front of her computer, and she gets punched out after she visits a website, and she says, "I thought you were supposed to be user-friendly." We want to make sure that your site is user-friendly. So how do we do that? Through everything that we've talked about today so far, but also you want to make sure that information on your website is readily available. Forms are easy to fill out, and you're not asking too many questions. The content on your website is relevant. So many times we have clients come to us where they keep repeating themselves in the content of their website on each internal page just to fill up real estate. They think the more pages they have on their website, the more full it's going to look, the bigger their company is going to look, and they're just repeating themselves over and over and over again. So it's content overload to users. So being on a website, making sure that you can look at the pages of, look at the content that's on each page of the site and read it and get new information each time is better than repeating yourself and repeating the same information just to fill up pages on the site. So here at QCamp, we actually offer a free usability report, and this is the link. It's a free evaluation of your current website, and it goes over 20 different areas of usability. We look at your content, we look at your search engine optimization, keywords that you're using within the site. We look at your images that you're using. We look at the attractiveness of the website, color psychology, do the colors make sense, content, all of that good stuff that we've talked about today is all stuffed into that free report. And so we've done many free usability reports for many different companies, as you can see here. And it's a free report where we email it to you within 48 hours. It will go through each different area of usability. It will tell you what we're looking at. You can then look at your website and say, oh, well, they're looking for this. I don't have this. Or, oh, we did this very well. So we give you a score out of 5 points for each category. And then at the end, we give you an overall score, which tells you if your website needs work, if your website was done very well, you only have a few things to look at, or if you need a complete overhaul. And so it gives you a lot of insight into your website for free. And then if you have any questions, we can go ahead and set up a time where we answer those questions for you on the phone or in person if you're local. So when we first started this webinar today, we talked a little bit about trust and how you gain that trust with your customers and user base that come to your website. There's some top credibility factors. There's direct and indirect experience. So having served the user well in the past helps to bring users back to your site. Good and speedy customer service for those users who have had a problem or a question on your website. You want to get back to them very quickly. So this is all ways to gain credibility and to gain that trust from users. Being a well-known and respected brand on the internet is also huge. One, showing that you're long-standing, that you're going to be here for a while, you're not going anywhere, you want to be contacted through any outlet that possible. So a lot of websites that you go to that don't have their social media buttons on their site means they don't want to be contacted. If they just give you a phone number or a contact page, they should have every media outlet on their site because they want to be bothered by you. They want to know your questions. They want to know your comments, your concerns, your problems. Also, the appearance of your site that we talked about earlier, your visual designs. We want clean, professional looking websites. We don't want an overly slick appearance. We have to find that balance. but we want it to be attractive. We want it to make sense to users. Visual design should match the tone and aesthetic preference of your target audience. Content. Again, content is key. Content needs to be consistent within your website. If you're on the About Us page, that content better be about us and talking about the business or talking about your products. So through content, you need to be truthful. If a user ever catches you in a lie on your website, they're going to assume that all other claims are false as well, and they're going to leave. And that word is going to spread very quickly, especially with social media now. Within content, you also want specific information and facts popped up front and center, right at the user's disposal, right there, so they can find the information that they need quickly. This includes pricing, whether or not an item's in inventory, if it's going to be on back order, if they don't sell it anymore, whatever the case may be. And make sure that content is being updated and it's the most recent content. Don't let the content on your website lapse for a year. Make sure, every 6 to 8 months you're refreshing that content. That will also help you with your SEO as well. And make sure that if something the user knows about or expects to find within the content isn't there, you're going to lose trust. So you want to make sure that there's nothing that's missing, because they're going to wonder what else is missing. You really want to make sure that you have your address, your phone number, any of that information on your website for people to contact you right away. Making sure that information is at the top of every page of the site as well as at the footer of every page. You also want to make sure that you have a clear business model. Any kind of bait and switch tactics on your website, you're going to lose credibility. Adding things to shopping carts that users didn't ask for, that happens all the time. Saying, oh, well, other people were looking at these items, and then all of a sudden you go to your shopping cart and these items are in there. These businesses think that, oh, you're not going to catch what's in your shopping cart. You're not going to check the total. You're just going to click check out. If you already have an account, it's going to automatically charge your credit card. So they try to trick you. And so those are those bait and switch things. You don't want that to happen, because that's going to lose your credibility as well. And you don't want to do it. It's poor business. You also want to make sure that you have aggressive lead generation tactics. So asking for personal information, don't ask for it too soon. So having someone go to your website and having a form pop up right away asking for that information, that's too soon. I haven't had enough time to look at the site, see if I trust your company, see if I like your products, and you're already asking me for something. So you want to make sure that users are ready to commit. You also want to make sure that you have a competent website. So good usability, as we talked about today, easy to navigate through. Your menu navigation isn't too long, giving users too many options, and it's also not too deep, making information get lost within the site. And there's also some smaller issues. You want to make sure that you have good free information in your blog to give to users. You don't want to hard sell on your website. You also want to offer those customer reviews and show previous examples of work. So all of this information that we've talked about today should point your website into the right direction, into the direction where you're converting people who come to your site from leads into customers. So we're doing that through user-centered design. So user-centered design, as we talked about earlier, focuses on users' needs, their tasks, and their goals. So it's a complete package of the user experience. Spend time on initial research and requirements. Just recently, we were so happy to see we do a bunch of RFPs. So requests for proposals. So these are for website projects that we put in proposals for. And we just found a few recently where they're actually focusing on user-centered design. and they're focusing on doing research first before implementing and building the website. And then after they gain their research, they're building the site based off of that research, and then they're testing it again and doing surveys again to make sure that everything that was built is satisfying the user. So we were very happy to see that because we haven't in the past 9 years that we've been doing this. So spend time doing your initial research and finding your requirements. Identify your target audience and observe them in their natural environment, accomplishing their tasks and goals on your website. Let users define their product requirements. So what are their needs? What do they want to accomplish when they come to your site? How does their environment affect their behavior? And we also want to put an emphasis on iterative design process. So based on iterations of the project through testing. So that's like this RFP we just found. We're doing testing first, then we're going to implement the website. We're going to do testing again. And then based off of that testing, we're going to make tweaks to the website. And we can keep doing that in different iterations until we refine the website so that it satisfies the overall user experience. And we want to evaluate that complete system on real target users. So just not on anyone. We want to make sure that they're our target audience for the specific website. So a lot of people ask, well, how much time does all of this take? For a basic static website, it should take anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. What that means is basically 4 to 5 pages of a website, which is content and images. If there's more complex things that need to be put into the website, such as databases, memberships, logins, shopping carts, it can take anywhere from 2 to 4 months, sometimes longer if there's more involved. And especially if we do different iterations of the project where we're actually doing testing and surveys, then building the website and going back and forth that way till we refine the project to be built for the user satisfaction completely. That can take, a very long time. It can take several months. So it just depends on what the company is looking for. So where should you spend your money? Well, you need to spend it on usability research, a good firm to get your website going. So if you already have a website, definitely get the usability research done. There's many benefits. You get actual testers to use your site before you launch and find out all the glitches that you have. Find out everything that's wrong within the website and fix it before it goes public. It's actually cheaper than going back after it launches. Remember the example of the florist that we had. Spent a lot of money, a lot of time. And different people tend to identify different problems. So you want to make sure that the user group that you're actually having test the website is diverse. So with usability research, we use our parent company, Situate Research, and we take a heuristic approach where we evaluate on several criteria that we talked about earlier. There's 20 different areas of usability. Within our free usability report, we go over. That's our criteria. Because we are not part of your project, we didn't build it, we're not biased. So there's no inside politics involved. We don't have a thing with marketing or the programmers or anything. No involvement. We're an outside third eye looking in, and we can give you that feedback, that honest feedback that you need. Reviews are based on our extensive experience. We've tested over 1,100 websites and internets with more than 3,000 users. So not just in the US, but all over. So we know what works and we know what doesn't work with users. So who should invest? Any company that's interested in having their website, intranet, or application subjected to independent expert review. This is useful if you're looking for a new strategy or direction for your user experience. If you are not, it is still a good idea to commission an assessment of your website from time to time just to make tweaks because you want to keep your website fresh and up to date. So we can test existing designs, design specifications such as wireframes or storyboards that we talked about earlier, prototype designs, or if you're ready to release your website, we can test that as well. So you receive a written report and it describes all the problems and issues that we find. Often we complement that with a conference call so that we can answer any questions that you may have or give you additional advice on your design. And the report can turn out anywhere from 60 to 90 pages, just depending on what we find. And just because the report's longer doesn't mean that it's more valuable. It just means that we found more problems. So the report addresses two levels of issues, specific usability problems from design, and then we go ahead and we recommend changes that will improve the usability, and we typically find anywhere between 50 to 100 different design elements that need to be fixed, even in the best designs. And we use high-level analysis. So, of the usability directions for the design and the recommended strategy for achieving significant advances in the user experience. So, you can request to see a sample report from us. Pricing starts anywhere from $4,500 and goes up for this complete report. So, the bottom line is that you want to have your site tested by professionals. It will save you money in the long run. And you want to go with a company that cares about your users. So remember at the very beginning, I said make sure throughout today's session you're thinking about your users, you're thinking about your user base. Users will know if you put the time into your website, and then that will tell them if you've put time into your company and your product. They're all linked together. So we've actually gone a little bit over today, but I'm going to leave you with our contact information. Again, we're QCamp. Here at QCamp, we design, redesign websites. We also do social media work, so marketing for companies. Once we build those websites or restructure websites, then we go ahead and spread the word on social media. So if you have any questions about today's session, comments, anything, just email me or you can give us a call at our office. Remember, our hashtag today was QCampUserWeb. You can go ahead and follow the discussion on Twitter. And if you are interested in usability research or testing, there is our parent company's information as well. So I want to thank you all for attending today's session. If you do have any questions, we're going to go ahead and email those answers to you since we have run over today. So again, I want to thank you all for attending today and have a great day.